Hello everybody, in today's video we will be documenting all the guitars used by Chuck Schuldiner throughout his time in Death. Now, we're not going to be discussing things like pedals and amps, the other things of his rig, even though I do find that stuff interesting. I would just like to document the guitars and a little bit about the history of them and everything. Though the info is a little bit limited at times, I absolutely tried my best with everything I could for this video, so I hope you enjoy it. Let's get right into it. The first guitar we see Chuck using for his career is what is coined as the garage sale guitar, or the yard sale guitar, whatever you want to call this crazy axe that started Chuck's journey with Death in the metal world. According to Scott Carlson, who briefly was a member of Death in 1985, the guitar was made by a guy in Florida and it was bought by Chuck in a pawn shop. The guitar went through multiple style changes, was stripped in black paint jobs, with its final form seemingly resting in the dark black finish. The neck humbucker was removed from the guitar and only sported one knob along with the single bridge humbucker, which Chuck is of course famous for with other guitars of his. The guitar was definitely used to record Scream Bloody Gore and could have possibly been used on Leprosy, but there's a chance that the next guitar we'll talk about was most likely the candidate for the guitar that was used on Leprosy instead. Now, by the time that Death was on the road for Leprosy, a certain guitar brand really started to stick out within the band as being the mainstay, that being BC Rich. So, of course, next we have to talk about the most iconic Chuck Schuldiner guitar, that being the BC Rich Stealth. Now, the BC Rich Stealth came in around the time of Leprosy, and the Stealth features a simple black finish with a single white X2N humbucker and one knob along with 24 frets and a reverse headstock. This guitar, of course, is easily Chuck's most iconic Stealth and probably my personal favorite due to the black and white contrast look, but it's kind of fighting for first place with another guitar that we'll look at later. Throughout 1988 to 1990, this guitar was Chuck's main workhorse and went about with seemingly no changes. Truly, it seems the guitar was used all the way up in its original form, which, when I say the original form, I'm talking with the white X2N humbucker. So keep that in mind, because we'll talk about this guitar a little bit later, but we have other things to talk about in between. This guitar stayed in the original form, what seems all the way up until the symbolic era, but then eventually received some changes, which again we will get to later. Now, the Stealth was basically Chuck's main guitar in his arsenal. It was kind of the only thing he had and was just the mainstay guitar. That's up until 1991, when Death go on to record and release Human, and now they need to go on the road and promote this amazing godly death metal album. But there's a little bit of change within the rig for the guitars. Now, everything that Chuck has played in his career really does stand out, but this guitar I feel is the most odd and different in a way. That of course is his Axtra Prophecy. This guitar was designed by Chuck, and Axtra made it for him in an attempt to take him away from BC Rich, according to his nephew Chris Steele. This of course did not happen, so oh well. This guitar is a very strange one to say the least. The body shape is very peculiar and features different specs than usual for Chuck, with there being 2 pickups, a volume and tone knob, and a 3-way selector. This guitar is briefly used on the tour for Human, which you can see a lot in 1992 concert footage, and just seemingly disappeared afterwards, but is supposedly now owned by someone else, but I'm not too sure. I couldn't get it 100% fact checked, but it's a possibility. It seems in the end, though, he preferred the Stealth and continued to use it with full force throughout his career, of course. This next guitar that we will talk about is a new BC Rich Stealth. That's right, we now have Stealth and number 2 in the arsenal. Please keep count. Even though there's not a lot to keep count of, do keep it in mind. This next Stealth, though, is a lot more usual and ordinary. You can't fully see everything in this photo, but what we do see is more of a traditional Stealth layout with double humbuckers, 2 knobs, and a 3-way. We also see the 24 fret ebony board, as well as a reverse headstock with the supposedly R-styled BC Rich logo design, which, side note, that logo is so cool. It's so simple, it's just the letter R, but I don't know, I think it looks kind of cool. Shoot off in the comments what you think, because I kind of prefer this a little bit more to the standard BC Rich style, but that's just me. We see it in its original more stock style form in photos, but when on the road, it was modded to Chuck's standard, with the neck pickup being removed and the standard bridge pickup being swapped with the white X2N like the main Stealth. Now, I'm not sure what 2 humbuckers were used before the white X2N. It was just what seems whatever was stock, and I'm not really sure what was stock at the time, so if you know anything about that, put it in the comments down below. I would love the information, and I bet everyone else watching this video would love it too. You can most famously see this guitar on the cover of the Vivus Live album. This guitar was used for the mile as the big mainstay, as the main axe during the live symbolic tour cycle. Now, the fate of this guitar was seemingly in quite the interesting spot. A photo of Chuck here, which I want to date around 1998, I would think, shows that he decided to swap the white X2N for a black, but eventually too, in another photo, we see the paint stripped off this guitar and left like that, yet there's a white X2N as well. So I'm not really sure what to do with this information. I do say the backyard, well, I guess front of the house or backyard photo, I'm not really sure what I call it, but Chuck's in a yard, the guitar's there, the black bridge is in there now, which is a little bit weird. I did say 1998, but we'll probably date this to 97, and the strip job, I would put more in 1998, but the only person I think who would really have this information is Chris Steele, so if he somehow sees this video, which I will try and get him to see, he can maybe confirm or deny, I don't know. It's a little confusing mystery. Chuck's nephew Chris now put this stripped paint Stealth up for sale a couple years ago, where part of the listing stated, quote, "up for grabs as one of Chuck Schuldiner's personal Stealths." This was mostly utilized as backup when his primary black Stealth was out of commission, hence why there are a few pictures of him playing it. At some point in his life, Chuck decided to strip the paint. I considered restoring it, but decided to leave it just the way that Chuck left it. Also, during the symbolic era, we see the appearance of a brand new guitar as well, that being Chuck's BC Rich Igniter. Now, the Igniter model is pretty much a copy and paste version of all his other guitars, with the design and layout being the same, having a white X2N humbucker and one extra whatever, it's very simple, very Chuck, but the guitar shape's a little different. This guitar was photographed with Chuck a good amount during the Symbolic era, and we even have studio photos, so this guitar was most likely used on Symbolic in some form, along with probably Stealth 1 or 2, but we don't really have any confirmation, but the studio photos do lead me to believe that it could have at least been used for something on the record. This guitar was briefly used, and it was a super unique axe from Chuck, and one that I'm not really fond with the looks of, but it's cool seeing the oddball guitars that Chuck would use every now and then besides a Stealth. Another guitar that was used briefly around the symbolic pre-Sound of Perseverance era is a super cool custom green BC Rich Mockingbird. This guitar features an incredible green finish all across the body and the finish on the back of the neck, also sporting a super gorgeous natural front facing of the headstock. This guitar seems to be very stock with double humbuckers and millions of knobs that some BC Riches just have, also sporting 24 frets, and again, the contrast of the headstock being natural with the green finish, it's so cool, it's so earthy, and I absolutely adore the look of this guitar. It's a shame we really didn't get to see it, and we don't have any footage of the guitar, but we do have pictures of it on stage. The look of this guitar is insanely cool, but definitely keep into account the finish of this cool custom. I say that because in 1997, Chuck would receive a brand new custom Stealth guitar and arguably the coolest guitar he owned. Chris Steele states, quote, "Chuck, his father and I were on vacation in Sarasota, Florida." Sarasota? I don't know. Sarasota, Florida, when he first unboxed this beautiful emerald green Stealth. He was so damn proud of it. I know for a fact he never brought it on the road. I'm not even sure he recorded with it. It still looks brand new to this day. Here's another photo as well with Chris and Chuck on the night that the Stealth was unboxed. This guitar is seemingly a three-piece neck-through construction, with the finish being very reminiscent of the green Mockingbird. The figuring on the finish is insanely pretty and just a huge highlight in Chuck's collection. This guitar's specs and looks really combines his previous two Stealths, with it mostly borrowing everything from his original Stealth, but keeps the headstock shape of the backup Stealth. Sadly though, in April 2024, Chris had to sell his guitar and provided this in the description at the listing. Quote, "It is an absolutely remarkable shape. Chuck never took it on the road, but did use it in studio from time to time. It's exactly the way Chuck left it, aside from a new pot and new knob. Chuck removed the knob at some point and never replaced it." So it is possible this guitar could have been used on the Sound of Perseverance or with control denied, but I don't really know. So it's cool to think that this guitar was featured on one of the records. Of course, we have no photos of it in the studio, at least that I've seen. I have seen Sound of Perseverance photos from the studio, and green Stealth's not there, but a certain other Stealth is there. Keep it in mind. This guitar also came with stock with a different humbucker than usual, but by the time of the sale, it did have a black DiMarzio X2N humbucker. The only person that I would think who would know what the stock humbucker is would be Chris, so again, please let's hope that Chris sees this video, because I would like to know what was used in it stock. It seems if that was what was given at the time, then maybe that's what Chuck recorded with, if this guitar was used in recordings. Of course, in the first quote, I said that he didn't know if Chuck even recorded with it, but on the eBay listing when it was sold, he did say that it was possibly used in the studio. So, I don't know. Now, I did say that there was a certain guitar that we weren't done talking about earlier, and that of course is the original #1 Stealth. Of course, this guitar kind of just remained the same from start to about the Symbolic era, but now we're going to go to the Sound of Perseverance where it kind of gets some new life. Now, of course, around the Sound of Perseverance, it got itself a new little look by replacing the white X2 with the black one. That really seems to be it. Everything else with the guitar seems the same, and this is the final form of this iconic instrument. Why Chuck swapped the white X2 in for the black is unknown, but it could have been a needed mod after years of wear and tear on the road, or Chuck maybe just preferred the black on black look. Personally, I like the white X2N much more. I love the contrast, and I think it looks super cool. This final form is also the reference in what was used for the Chuck Schuldiner signature Stealth released by BC Rich years after his passing. This guitar, like all others of Chuck's, belongs to Chris, where he replaced the bridge and the X2N as they were very corroded from road use. The guitar has plenty of damage from its extensive use. This guitar is incredibly legendary, and it possibly saw 6 out of 7 of the Death albums for recording and years of live shows. But in the end, this Stealth is easily Chuck's most iconic instrument, and in my mind, one of the, if not the most iconic and legendary symbol of death metal. Anyways, I hope you very much enjoyed this video. I know, interesting little setup here, going back and forth with me talking and showing videos and stuff. Yeah, I have a very professional microphone setup right here, as you can see. Look at me. Microphone company, please sponsor me with something easy to use and good. I don't know. But, I have a lot of different videos in the works and ideas and whatnot, so yeah, but I really wanted to get this out since nobody else on YouTube has really talked about Chuck's guitars extensively, so here I am because I love nerding out about my favorite musicians' guitars, and nobody's really taken the time to talk about them, so here I am. I hope you found this video informative and helpful, and also too, I hope that Chris Steele can see this video because I would love to see if he could confirm or relay any information to me, and if that somehow does happen, do check the pinned comments down below. If there is anything, I will say something and pin it down below. If not, I tried. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed once again, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.